Ladies and gentlemen, life is full of beautiful moments, but it is also filled with people who test our patience, challenge our peace, and push us to our limits. Some come in the form of critics, others as skeptics, and some simply as those who understand us. But let me tell you something, difficult people are not obstacles, they are lessons in disguise. Difficult people come into our lives in many forms, some as critics, others as skeptics, and some simply as those who misunderstand us. They test our patience, challenge our beliefs, and sometimes push us to our emotional limits. It is easy to see them as obstacles, as people who make our lives harder for no reason. But the truth is, difficult people are not a punishment, they are a test. They are placed in our path to teach us something valuable about ourselves, about patience, about growth, and about the power of our own response. When we encounter a difficult person, our first instinct is often frustration. We ask ourselves, why me? Or what did I do to deserve this? But instead of seeing them as an unfair burden, what if we saw them as an opportunity? Every difficult interaction is a chance to practice self-control, to strengthen our emotional intelligence, and to learn the art of rising above negativity. These people push us sometimes to the edge, but in doing so, they reveal parts of ourselves we may not have discovered otherwise. They show us our own triggers, our own insecurities, and our own capacity for patience. Imagine a situation where someone constantly criticizes you, no matter what you do. You could argue back, defend yourself, or hold on to resentment. But what if instead you saw their criticism as a lesson? Maybe it teaches you resilience, the ability to stand firm in your own worth without seeking validation. Maybe it teaches you to filter out noise, to take only what is constructive and leave the rest. Or maybe it simply teaches you that not everyone will like you, and that's okay. There is an old saying that iron sharpens iron. Growth does not happen in comfort. It happens when we are tested, when we are challenged, when we are forced to confront parts of ourselves that we would rather avoid. Difficult people are like sandpaper, they may be rough, but they polish us. Without them, we might never learn how to stay calm in chaos, how to speak with grace in the face of hostility, or how to walk away from toxicity without guilt. Sometimes, the most difficult people are not just random strangers or acquaintances, but the ones closest to us. A family member who never seems satisfied, a coworker who constantly undermines us, or a friend who drains our energy with their negativity. These situations can feel even more frustrating because walking away is not always an option. But even in these cases, there is a lesson. Maybe it is about setting boundaries, learning how to say no without feeling guilty. Maybe it is about empathy, realizing that their behavior is a reflection of their own struggles, not a measure of our worth. Or maybe it is about understanding that we cannot change people, but we can change how we respond to them. It is important to remember that difficult people are not sent to destroy us. They are sent to test our strength, to refine our character, and to teach us lessons that only they can teach. A difficult boss might push us to find our own voice. A negative friend might teach us the importance of protecting our peace. A harsh critic might unknowingly help us build resilience. The challenge is not in avoiding difficult people, but in learning how to deal with them without losing ourselves in the process. When we shift our perspective from seeing them as punishments to seeing them as tests, we regain our power. We stop letting them control our emotions. We stop taking their words personally. We stop reacting impulsively and start responding with. Difficult people will always exist. We cannot remove them from our lives completely, but we can decide how we allow them to affect us. Every encounter with them is a chance to grow stronger, wiser, and more at peace with ourselves. They are not here to break us, they are here to shape us. The real test is not how they act, but how we choose to respond. Life is full of situations where we are faced with difficult people, unexpected challenges, and moments that test our patience. In these moments, our natural instinct is often to react immediately, driven by emotions like anger, frustration, or disappointment. But reacting impulsively can lead to regret, misunderstandings, and unnecessary conflict. Instead, we must learn to respond, not react. This small shift in approach can make a significant difference in how we handle challenges and maintain our inner peace. When we react, we allow our emotions to take control. A harsh comment from someone might trigger us to snap back. An unfair accusation might lead us to argue, or a stressful situation might make us panic. But when we react instantly, we often act without thinking, saying things we don't mean or making choices that we later wish we had handled differently. Reaction is driven by impulse, and impulse is rarely wise. It is in those moments of reaction that relationships get damaged, opportunities get lost, and negativity spreads. Responding, on the other hand, is a conscious decision. It means taking a step back, analyzing the situation, and choosing our words and actions carefully. It is about pausing before speaking, breathing before acting, and considering the consequences before making a decision. When we respond instead of react, we maintain control over ourselves rather than giving control to the situation or the person provoking us. This does not mean suppressing emotions, but rather channeling them in a way that leads to a better outcome. One of the most powerful ways to shift from reacting to responding is by practicing emotional intelligence. Understanding our own emotions and recognizing our triggers help us handle situations more effectively. When we are aware of what upsets us, we can prepare ourselves to manage those emotions rather than letting them explode in the heat of the moment. Emotional intelligence also allows us to see beyond our initial feelings and understand the perspective of others. Sometimes people say or do things not because they want to hurt us, but because they are dealing with their own struggles. A rude comment might come from someone who is hurting inside. An unfair decision might be made by someone under pressure. When we respond with understanding rather than reacting with anger, we create space for resolution instead of conflict. Patience is another key to responding rather than reacting. In moments of frustration, our mind tells us that we need to act immediately. But taking a deep breath, counting to 10, or even stepping away for a moment can prevent unnecessary conflict. Time gives us clarity, allowing us to evaluate whether something is even worth our energy. Not every argument needs a response, not every insult deserves attention, and not every criticism requires defense. Sometimes silence is the most powerful response we can give. Choosing to respond rather than react also strengthens our relationships. Whether it is in personal or professional settings, the way we handle difficult conversations determines the strength of our connections. A boss who criticizes harshly, a partner who speaks out of frustration, or a friend who misunderstands us can all lead to conflict if we react without thinking. But when we respond with calmness, we open the door for communication and understanding. Instead of fueling the fire, we diffuse it. Instead of pushing people away, we create opportunities for deeper connections. The power to respond rather than react is the power to control our own lives. It is a skill that takes practice, but once mastered, it transforms the way we handle challenges. It allows us to navigate difficult situations with grace, handle negativity with wisdom, and maintain our peace regardless of external circumstances. The choice is always ours. Do we let the world control us, or do we choose how we engage with it? When we choose to respond, we take back our power and create a life that is not dictated by reactions but guided by thoughtful actions. Empathy is one of the most powerful qualities a person can possess. It is the ability to understand and share the feelings of another, to put ourselves in someone else's shoes, and to see the world through their eyes. In a world filled with misunderstandings, conflicts, and emotional struggles, empathy serves as a bridge that connects people on a deeper level. It allows us to move beyond judgment and truly understand the experiences and emotions of others. When we embrace empathy, we gain the ability to transform relationships, heal wounds, and bring positivity into the lives of those around us. Empathy is not just about listening to someone's words, it is about feeling what they feel. It is about sensing the pain behind a smile, the struggles behind a silence, and the battle someone fights behind their everyday actions. People rarely express their deepest struggles openly. Many carry burdens they never speak about, and in those moments, a little understanding can make all the difference. When we choose empathy, we become the kind of person who doesn't just hear, but truly listens, who doesn't just see, but truly understands. This ability to connect on a deeper level is what makes empathy a superpower. When we approach people with empathy, we change the way we respond to negativity. It is easy to get frustrated with someone who is rude or distant. But when we try to understand what they might be going through, our response shifts. Maybe the person who snapped at us is dealing with personal struggles we know nothing about. Maybe the person who seems cold and distant has been hurt too many times before. Instead of reacting with anger, we can choose to respond with kindness. This does not mean allowing people to treat us poorly, but it does mean recognizing that everyone has a story, and sometimes their actions have nothing to do with us. Empathy also strengthens relationships. Whether it is with family, friends, colleagues, or strangers, understanding another person's emotions builds trust and connection. When people feel heard and valued, they open up, creating space for deeper bonds. Relationships thrive when both sides feel understood, and empathy makes that possible. In conflicts, instead of focusing on proving a point, Empathy allows us to see the other person's perspective, leading to resolution instead of resentment. It teaches us that being right is not always as important as being kind. In leadership and teamwork, empathy is a game changer. A leader who understands the struggles of their team earns respect and loyalty. A colleague who takes the time to support others creates a positive work environment. When people feel valued and understood, they perform better, communicate more effectively, and build stronger connections. The most inspiring leaders in history were not just intelligent or skilled, they were empathetic. They understood the needs and emotions of those around them and used that understanding to inspire change. Beyond personal relationships, empathy has the power to change the world. It breaks down barriers of race, class, and culture, reminding us that at our core, we are all human. It helps us move past prejudice and judgment, replacing them with understanding and compassion. A world with more empathy is a world with less conflict, less hatred, and more kindness. Every act of understanding, no matter how small, creates a ripple effect. Empathy is not a weakness, it is a strength. It takes courage to feel deeply, to care for others, and to approach the world with kindness despite its harshness. It requires emotional intelligence, patience, and a willingness to step outside of our own experiences. But the rewards are endless. It allows us to build stronger relationships, resolve conflicts, and create positive change in the lives of others. In a world where so many people feel unseen and unheard, empathy is a superpower that has the ability to heal, connect, and transform lives. Boundaries are essential for maintaining our emotional well-being, self-respect, and peace of mind. They define the limits of what we are willing to accept in our personal and professional lives, allowing us to protect ourselves from unnecessary stress, toxic relationships, and emotional exhaustion. Without boundaries, we become vulnerable to manipulation, overcommitment, and a constant sense of being overwhelmed. Setting boundaries is not about pushing people away, it is about creating space where we can function at our best, maintain healthy relationships, and preserve our mental and emotional health. One of the most important aspects of boundaries is learning to say no without guilt. Many people struggle with this because they fear disappointing others or being perceived as unkind. However, constantly saying yes to things that drain our energy leads to resentment and burnout. True kindness is not about sacrificing ourselves to please others, it is about being honest about what we can and cannot handle. When we say no to things that do not serve us, we are actually saying yes to our well-being, our priorities, and the things that truly matter. Boundaries also teach people how to treat us. When we tolerate disrespect, manipulation, or emotional abuse, we send the message that such behavior is acceptable. But when we establish clear boundaries and enforce them consistently, we show others that we value ourselves and expect the same respect in return. This is not about being aggressive or confrontational. It is about calmly and assertively making it clear what is unacceptable. People who respect us will honor our boundaries, while those who don't may try to push back. It is in those moments that we must stand firm and remember that we have the right to protect our peace. In relationships, boundaries are crucial for maintaining balance and mutual respect. Whether it is a romantic relationship, friendship, or family dynamic, clear boundaries prevent misunderstandings and emotional exhaustion. Healthy relationships are built on mutual respect, not guilt, obligation, or fear. If someone constantly invades our personal space, demands more than we can give, or disregards our feelings, it is our responsibility to address it. Setting boundaries does not mean we do not love or care for others, it means we also love and care for ourselves. Boundaries are equally important in professional settings. In the workplace, a lack of boundaries can lead to excessive workloads, burnout, and a loss of motivation. Many people find themselves taking on extra responsibilities out of fear of disappointing their boss or colleagues, but overcommitting can ultimately affect productivity and mental health. Clear communication about workload, time constraints, and expectations helps create a balanced and productive environment. A healthy work-life balance is only possible when we establish firm boundaries around our time and energy. Emotional boundaries are just as vital as physical ones. We often absorb the emotions and problems of others, sometimes to the point where we feel drained and overwhelmed. While it is good to support and care for those we love, we must also recognize when emotional involvement is becoming unhealthy. We cannot fix everyone's problems, nor should we feel responsible for carrying their burdens. Knowing when to step back and prioritize our own emotional well-being is an important part of self-care. Many people feel guilty when setting boundaries because they fear being seen as selfish. However, boundaries are not selfish, they are necessary for self-preservation. If we are constantly giving without taking care of ourselves, we will eventually have nothing left to offer. We cannot pour from an empty cup. The healthier our boundaries, the more we can give to the people and responsibilities that truly matter. Boundaries empower us to live a life that aligns with our values, energy, and my priorities. They allow us to focus on what brings us joy, growth, and fulfillment while filtering out the things that drain us. Establishing boundaries is an act of self-respect, and enforcing them is an act of self-love. The more we honor our own limits, the more others will learn to do the same. The world is full of people who will test our patience, challenge our kindness, and sometimes even treat us unfairly. It is easy to react with anger, frustration, or resentment when faced with negativity, but there is a much more powerful response: kindness. Choosing to respond with kindness in the face of hostility is not a sign of weakness, it is a display of strength. When we choose to kill them with kindness, we disarm negativity, protect our inner peace, and set a higher standard for how we interact with the world. Kindness has the power to break the cycle of negativity. When someone is rude or disrespectful, our first instinct may be to match their energy, to snap back, defend ourselves, or engage in conflict. However, reacting in the same manner only fuels the negativity and allows it to grow. But when we respond with kindness, it disrupts the pattern. The person expecting a fight suddenly finds themselves facing warmth instead of hostility. It catches them off guard and often forces them to reconsider their approach. Responding with kindness is not about letting people walk over us. It is about choosing to rise above their negativity. It is easy to be kind to those who are kind to us, but true strength is shown when we can be kind to those who least deserve it. That does not mean tolerating mistreatment or staying silent in the face of injustice. It simply means choosing to respond in a way that aligns with our values rather than being dragged into someone else's negativity. People who spread negativity often do so because of their own internal struggles. A person who lashes out may be dealing with personal pain, insecurities, or frustrations they do not know how to handle. While their behavior is not justified, understanding this can help us detach emotionally from their words and actions. Instead of taking their negativity personally, we can recognize that their behavior is a reflection of their struggles, not a measure of our worth. This perspective makes it easier to choose kindness over anger. Kindness also has a way of transforming relationships. There are times when people expect a fight, an argument, or resistance, and instead they are met with patience and understanding. This unexpected response can change the course of an interaction. A coworker who always seems competitive may soften when they realize they are not being met with hostility. A difficult family member may eventually let their guard down when they see consistent kindness. Even a stranger who is having a bad day may be reminded that not all people are unkind. Beyond personal interactions, choosing kindness impacts our own mental and emotional well-being. Holding on to anger, resentment, or frustration weighs us down far more than it affects the other person. When we respond with kindness, we let go of unnecessary negativity and free ourselves from emotional burdens. Instead of carrying grudges, we move forward with peace and clarity. This approach is not always easy, and there will be moments when kindness feels like the last thing we want to give. But in those moments, choosing kindness is a powerful act of self-discipline and growth. It shows that we are in control of our emotions rather than being controlled by external negativity. It allows us to maintain our dignity and walk away from situations knowing that we stayed true to who we are. At the end of the day, people will remember how we made them feel. They may forget our words, but they will remember the kindness we showed, even in difficult situations. Choosing kindness does not mean we will change everyone, but it does mean we will leave a positive impact wherever we go. And sometimes that kindness is exactly what someone needs to change their perspective, their attitude, or even their life. Silence is one of the most underrated yet powerful tools in life. In a world that constantly demands our attention, where everyone is quick to respond, defend, and voice their opinions, silence holds an incredible strength. It allows us to observe, reflect, and choose our responses wisely rather than acting impulsively. Silence is not just the absence of words, it is a deliberate and conscious choice that can be more impactful than any spoken response. It has the power to protect our energy, maintain our dignity, and influence situations in ways that words often cannot. One of the greatest strengths of silence is its ability to control a situation. When faced with confrontation, an argument, or provocation, our first instinct is often to react. We want to defend ourselves, prove a point, or counterattack. But silence can be a far stronger response. It confuses those who expect a reaction, disarms negativity, and keeps us from engaging in unnecessary conflict. Not every battle is worth fighting, and not every comment deserves a reply. Silence allows us to rise above petty arguments and unnecessary drama, keeping our focus on what truly matters. Silence is also a form of self-control. The ability to hold back words in moments of anger or frustration requires strength and discipline. Often in the heat of the moment, we say things we later regret. Words spoken in anger can hurt relationships, damage reputations, and create unnecessary misunderstandings. But when we practice silence, we give ourselves time to process our emotions, evaluate the situation, and respond with wisdom rather than impulse. A well-thought-out response is always more effective than a reaction fueled by temporary emotions. Beyond conflict, silence is a powerful tool in communication. Sometimes the most effective way to be heard is not by speaking louder, but by pausing and allowing the weight of silence to settle. Silence creates space for others to think, reflect, and even reveal more than they intended. In negotiations, the person who speaks less often holds the most power. Silence can make others feel the need to fill the gap, leading them to reveal information, reconsider their stance, or soften their position. It can also be used to demand respect, create an air of mystery, and maintain a strong presence without saying a single word. Silence is also a source of inner peace. In the chaos of everyday life, moments of silence allow us to reconnect with ourselves, process our thoughts, and regain clarity. It is in silence that we find the answers we are searching for, the solutions to our problems, and the peace that often gets lost in the noise. Taking time to sit in silence, away from distractions, helps us understand our emotions, reflect on our actions, and find direction. It is in these quiet moments that some of the most important personal growth happens. Moreover, silence teaches patience. In a world where instant gratification is expected, silence reminds us that not everything needs an immediate response. Sometimes the best course of action is to wait, to observe, and to let things unfold naturally. Many conflicts resolve themselves when left alone, and many situations become clear with time. Silence teaches us that not every problem needs our interference and that some things are better left unsaid. Silence is a form of strength. It is often mistaken for weakness, but in reality, it takes great power to stay silent when provoked, to walk away from negativity, and to let actions speak louder than words. Silence allows us to maintain our dignity, avoid unnecessary confrontations, and show that we are in control of our emotions. When used wisely, it can be one of the most powerful responses in any situation, proving that sometimes saying nothing at all speaks volumes. Criticism is an inevitable part of life. No matter how skilled, kind, or accomplished we are, there will always be someone who has something to say about our actions, decisions, or efforts. While criticism can often feel like a personal attack, it has the potential to be one of the greatest tools for growth. The way we respond to criticism determines whether it breaks us or builds us. When we shift our mindset and see criticism as an opportunity rather than a threat, we unlock the ability to learn, improve, and evolve into a better version of ourselves. One of the first steps in turning criticism into growth is recognizing the difference between constructive and destructive criticism. Constructive criticism is meant to help us improve, offering insights and suggestions that can guide us toward progress. It may be difficult to hear, but it comes from a place of support and is focused on solutions rather than blame. Destructive criticism, on the other hand, is often rooted in negativity, jealousy, or personal bias. It aims to tear us down rather than help us grow. Understanding this distinction allows us to take what is useful and let go of what is meant to harm. When we receive constructive criticism, the best approach is to listen with an open mind. Instead of reacting defensively or shutting down, we can take a moment to reflect on what is being said. Is there truth in the feedback? Are there areas where we can improve? Often, our initial reaction is to feel hurt or attacked, but if we set aside our emotions and focus on the message, rather than the delivery, we can extract valuable lessons. Growth requires humility, and sometimes the most uncomfortable feedback is the most necessary. Even destructive criticism can serve a purpose if we approach it with the right mindset. Instead of allowing negative comments to affect our self-worth, we can use them as a motivation to push forward. Many successful individuals have faced harsh criticism, yet they chose to rise above it rather than be afraid. When someone doubts our abilities, we can use that as fuel to prove them wrong, not out of anger, but out of a desire to grow and succeed. The best response to baseless criticism is not to argue, but to let our progress speak for itself. Criticism also teaches resilience. The more we face it, the stronger we become. When we stop fearing criticism, we develop the confidence to take risks, try new things, and step outside our comfort zones. Fear of judgment often holds people back from pursuing their dreams, but those who embrace criticism as part of the journey are the ones who continue to grow. Instead of viewing criticism as a roadblock, we can see it as a stepping stone that pushes us toward our goals. Another important aspect of handling criticism is seeking feedback from the right sources. Not all criticism carries the same weight, and not every opinion should shape our path. The feedback of a mentor, expert, or someone who genuinely wants to see us improve is far more valuable than the opinion of a random critic. Surrounding ourselves with people who challenge us in a constructive way ensures that we continue to learn and evolve in a meaningful direction. At its core, criticism is a mirror. It reflects areas where we can improve, highlights blind spots we may not have noticed, and offers insight into how others perceive us. Instead of resisting it, we can use it as a tool for self-awareness and refinement. Every time we take criticism and turn it into an opportunity for growth, we become stronger, wiser, and more capable. The key is not to let it define us, but to let it refine us, shaping us into the person we are meant to be. Your energy is one of the most valuable resources you have. It determines how you show up in the world, how you handle challenges, and how much you can give to the things that truly matter. Every thought you entertain, every conversation you engage in, and every situation you invest yourself in either adds to or drains your energy. When you start treating your energy as something precious, you begin to make choices that protect your well-being, enhance your growth, and bring more peace into your life. One of the most important aspects of managing your energy is being mindful of the people you surround yourself with. Some people uplift and inspire, while others drain and exhaust. It is easy to get caught up in toxic relationships, whether in friendships, family, or work environments, without realizing the toll they take. Negative people, constant complainers, and those who thrive on drama can deplete your energy without you even noticing. Choosing to limit interactions with such individuals and prioritizing relationships that nourish and support you is an act of self-care. You are not obligated to engage with those who continuously drain you, and protecting your peace is not selfish, it is necessary. Your energy is also affected by where you focus your attention. Worrying about things beyond your control, engaging in meaningless arguments, or constantly consuming negative news can leave you feeling drained and unmotivated. Instead of allowing yourself to be pulled into negativity, redirect your focus toward things that inspire and uplift you. Your attention is a powerful tool, and where you place it determines the quality of your energy. Choosing to invest your thoughts in gratitude, learning, and growth creates a mindset that attracts positivity and peace. Setting boundaries is another essential part of protecting your energy. People